We just interviewed Maddie Hargis, a faith-based, pro-life influencer who's come under fire for her views, but it hasn't stopped her at all. Expect to learn about the horrors of the abortion industry, how abortion harms women, why this is an issue the church cannot avoid, and how society has gotten to a point where we accept this as normal. Welcome to the Pursuit of Purpose show.
Could you just kind of give a little background about how you got into the whole thing, what it was like getting started, and then kind of the views that you have, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. I was pretty much always pro-life in a sense because it was just kind of sense to me. But I started really looking into it about 2 years ago because I probably would have said it. I was pro-life to someone, but I did give the rape exception and everything because I knew the abortion word had a bad connotation to it, but I didn't really know why necessarily or what all went into it. So I was on TikTok and I was scrolling and I was coming across these people debating it on live. And I started looking into it because of that. And I saw all this victim imagery and how the abortion performed off of live actions videos. And that really broke my heart. And so seeing all of that, I became pro-life. It was an immediate thing because it's just common sense. You see what's actually going on. You know that's a baby in the womb. And I think pro-choicers know that too. They just have to dehumanize them to try and excuse that in their mind or justify it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much when I became pro-life, like 100%, not even with the rape exception or anything, because why is one baby less valuable than the other just because of the circumstances of how they were conceived?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much how I got into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that standpoint on it is really accurate for a lot of people. And I liked what you said. I think a lot of pro-choice people actually do have those same feelings. They just somehow have decompartmentalized, like pushing away that that's actually not a real person.
Right.
Just 'cause it's not.
And I've had conversations with people too. Not like heated arguments, but just respectful disagreements. We'll just ask them questions about their opinion on it.
Right.
And then I'll kind of get into like, so what exactly makes this thing not human? And they usually don't really have an answer. So they'll say things like, I'll tell them like, it's a human being. And they'll be like, well, it's not really like human. And then once you start going into the arguments, you start to pick it apart and realize that you could, if you apply this to any other person, you could literally make the case that certain people walking around don't deserve rights.
Right.
So it's obviously a tricky argument. I think the one elephant in the room that we have to address, because I know that I can already smell the comments a mile away, is like, why is this important for Christians to talk about? Like, because you hear in this culture, and there's even a lot of this in the church, just sort of go along to get along type of culture.
Yeah.
And people just say, well, it's not really a big of a deal. It's somebody else's choice. Like, if you don't want an abortion, don't have one. And you'll also hear a lot of Christians say, like, well, this isn't really the forefront of what we're trying to talk about. This is kind of like a minor political disagreement. Why do you believe that this is something that the church needs to address, and this is sort of a hill to die on, so to speak?
Yeah, the church should be addressing these types of issues because they aren't just political. This is a spiritual battle that we're in, and these babies are made in the image of God. And it's important that we're talking about that because we can't let people just start dehumanizing unborn babies, because if they start dehumanizing them, then we start dehumanizing even just people who are born as well, because even you've seen with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, they've been celebrating his death and everything like that. And I think that really does start with abortion, because once you start dehumanizing actual humans, you've opened the door for a lot of other things as well. And not only that, with abortion comes other issues like IVF or fetal organ harvesting, and children aren't for sale. They're not for profit, and the idea that people are making money off of it and everything is just so disgusting. And it's something that the church should be speaking on. I mean, I don't think the church should shy away from it just because it's controversial. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And we are called to speak the truth in love. And that's something that the church should be on for those reasons.
That's really interesting. I think for me personally, like when I started, kind of trying to educate myself on what was going on with abortion, I think it's a gray area. A lot of people don't even actually know like what happens, like how it works, just how truly evil it actually is. I think it kind of can just seem as like, well, baby's gone, but I want to know how, and I'm sure that you know a lot more than I do on that.
Yeah.
On that topic.
Yeah. There's so many different ways. There's the chemical abortion, which pretty much starves the baby. I'm blanking on the names now that I'm asked about it, but it's mifepristone. And then now I'm forgetting the other one. But they have the chemical abortion pills. They take the one that starts starving the baby, and then they take the second one, which expels the baby from the mother's womb forcefully. And that's actually really dangerous for the mother as well. It's very painful. A lot of people say it's just like a heavy period, but it's not. There's been women who have even gone to the emergency room for it because they're bleeding out so badly. But the baby they sit on the toilet, the baby is expelled into it, and they're flushing their baby down the toilet. And a lot of women have reported that they can actually they'll pick up their baby and they can see the little fingers and hands and everything. It's just horrifying. And I've heard so many horror stories from that as well that are just very, some of them, just hearing them, I was in shock. It's hard to even know how to respond to that because it's like it's not even real.
Yeah.
But in the other abortions, there's a D&C and D&E abortion. And that's usually in the second or third trimester. And that is when they take the Sover clamp or they'll take, it's like this vacuum machine, and they'll go inside of the mother and they'll literally rip the baby's limb from limb, and then they will crush the baby's skull depending on how late it is in the pregnancy, and then take those pieces out. And then afterwards they have to scrape out any remaining pieces that there may be inside the womb. And then I don't know if this is necessarily for the D&C, but I know for the D&E that they'll take the pieces into a back room and put them together so that they know they have everything and it's not there's not anything left inside the mother.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
And the child feels all of that.
Oh yeah, to a point. In the first trimester, I'm not sure if they would feel that. It's around 12 weeks that they're supposed to be able to at least feel some pain. But for the D&C and D&E, they're most likely 100% feeling that. There's been ultrasound videos of them moving away from the Sover clamps because they can sense that there's something that's dangerous that's invading, and there's
Yeah. I've seen some of those ultrasound videos. They're horrifying. You can literally see the thing fighting for its life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we'll probably pull some of them up on the video.
Yeah, assuming it doesn't get taken down from...
That's true.
From all the censorship. We're getting our videos taken down for the stupidest reasons. Yeah, they get shadow banned, and you get one video taken down, then they shadow ban your whole account.
Yeah.
Just Alex Jones talking in the clip that we posted wasn't
even anything bad. It was literally just him talking, and then they took it down because they saw Alex Jones on it.
So the first one that you were talking about, to circle back to that.
Yeah.
So the first one, the chemical way, that's earlier in the stages of birth, correct?
Oh yeah, that would be between most women don't find out that they're pregnant until about 5 weeks, but that would be anywhere between then, and it's supposed to be, I believe, until 8 weeks, but some women do use it later than that. They're still sold a chemical abortion pill later than that, but that's the later you wait, the more dangerous it gets for both, well, obviously for the baby, but also for the mother as well.
Okay.
I've heard those are actually reversible. So if you have taken one, and some women regret it immediately after, there's apparently a pill that can undo it in 24 hours.
That's progesterone. You can use that to reverse it, but the longer you wait, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to save the baby, unfortunately. But there is actually a reversal pill, and we hand out some of those flyers when we go sidewalk counseling. That way, if women get the abortion pill, they can still have some information in case they change their minds.
Okay.
So you this is, I think you're referring to like the stuff that you've done in person. So you've gone to these protests, you've gone to these rallies.
Yeah.
What's that like, interacting with people that may disagree with you in person and just kind of going out to support the cause? What is that like, going to these events?
It's interesting. I've always been kind of more of a people pleaser, not so much anymore, but it's really, I just don't like confrontation. So it's been something where God's been challenging me, but I go, and once I'm there, I'm not really worried about that because I know why I'm there, and that reason is so much more important than how I'm feeling about it. But I've come across some interesting people. I try and just have conversations with them, but a lot of them really don't want to have conversations. So I've had people, screaming in my face and stuff like that. I haven't had anyone be necessarily physical, except for actually I think it was the first protest I went to. I was with another creator. His name's Tyler Smith, and he doesn't do as much anymore, but when he was doing content, we went there and I was recording for him because that was my first protest I'd ever been to. So I was kind of nervous about really doing anything, but we were in the center of the entire group. This was, I think, the anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And we were in the center of the group, and he started shouting out like abortion's murder, all of that. I was recording it, and he actually had to get taken out by the police because people were just surrounding him, screaming at him, like likely that they might get violent. And so when they were taking him out, some people shoved me out after him.
Wow.
And so the police were trying to get behind me. That way people weren't grabbing at me. So
That's
was
crazy.
Yeah, that was the most physical it's ever gotten. I haven't really experienced anything that terrible. I know some people that I've worked with have. I know some of them have had water thrown on them, or they've been. Savannah Craven was hit in the face. I mean, that's just crazy. She went to one of the protests I was at. So there's been a lot worse experiences that people have had. So I've been fortunate in not really having to deal with that so far. I'm sure it will come up eventually, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's it can be intimidating a little bit, but once you get into it, and especially praying about it and everything, that really helps calm me down and everything, and I'm able to just go in and have a better perspective of it, I guess.
Right.
So was this kind of one of the first experiences with the other side, kind of almost in a way like attacking you for what you're believing in? Is that kind of like your first experience?
I mean, yeah, I was seeing it firsthand, and it was in person. It's not just online. So it's a bit different interacting with people. But yeah, that was definitely my first experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, before we go into that, what kind of experiences you've seen? So I've heard that 70, I don't know, this could be wrong. I've heard a majority of Gen Z.
Not a majority. It's, I think, 28% was the statistic.
I would consider that a majority. Dude,
I believe it's 28% of Gen Z has been aborted, which is kind of crazy to think about, that over a quarter of our generation is missing.
Yeah, it's about a third. It's sickening. I mean, it's not quite as bad as it was before Roe v. Wade was overturned, but I mean, if you think about it in perspective of that, like literally a third of us are not here when we should have been. It puts it into perspective. It's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't really seem to care because they don't see those unborn children that were aborted as equal to us, like equal to you and I and Jackson. So how would you handle that argument? Because I would say it's probably the most common argument we get from people on that side of the aisle in some form or another. They argue that, yeah, it's genetically human, but it's not like human, not like how you and I are human. How would you respond to somebody who says that a fetus is a clump of cells, or it's not really a human being like us?
I mean, any sort of line that they're going to draw that's not literally just you're a human being, that's alive, it's going to be something arbitrary. And anything that they take, whether it's the size of the fetus or developmental stage, or I guess how you are intellectually, that's going to apply to people outside of the womb as well. So people who are with their brains fully developed at 25, they're more valuable than someone whose brain isn't fully developed. I don't know. It does apply
Right.
outside the womb as well. They,
Yeah.
like, it's just because of your location that matters, because it doesn't. Some people argue viability, but I mean that stage is getting pushed farther and farther back because, I mean, we're getting more medical advancements and everything like that. I think the youngest baby born was, I believe, 21 weeks and 5 days or something like that. There's a new world record just broken for that, actually. But yeah.
Plus, it's also kind of ridiculous, the viability argument. I believe what you're referring to is the idea that a fetus can live outside the womb.
Yeah.
Without support from its mother.
Mm.
But if you take an infant, like a 9-month-old infant, and you stick them outside with no mother for a week, that thing is not going to be able to survive on its own.
Not even,
so the idea,
like a day, I don't even know.
The idea that they can survive on their own outside is kind of ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting that, we take, and then it also raises the question for disabled people. What about people that are disabled and can't take care of themselves?
Yep.
Do those people not deserve rights? If we're looking at it, like you said, the size argument is great. Do I deserve less human rights than Shaquille O'Neal because he's 7 feet tall? And you know what I mean? There's so many ways you could extrapolate it, and the lines get really blurry of when this becomes when this human being becomes an actual human being. You know what I mean?
It's just arbitrary. That's why it's good to go with, it's literally a scientific fact that it's a human life at conception. That's not debatable, which is funny. Some people, I'll tell them that, and they're like, well, you clearly haven't gone to biology class. And I'm like, I just can't even argue with you at this point.
A simple Google search will tell you that
they're boarded up. I mean, what I'm getting at is and not everybody, but a majority of these people that are, I'd imagine, attacking you, they think that the baby isn't a real person, a real valuable being, until they leave the mother, until they come into the world.
It depends. Some pro-choicers are against abortion once it gets to, I mean, it really just depends on their personal preference, which is crazy to say. But yeah, some are against it after, I've heard some people say 12 weeks. They didn't really give a reason for that. They just said 12. Some people say viability. Some people say consciousness.
But that's also that's kind of a spectrum. That's not a yes or no. Is it conscious? Is it not conscious? It's kind of a spectrum. Just like brain development, it's when the brain develops. It's the brain is continuously developing from conception all the way to the time you're 30. So where do we draw the line at this is when the brain develops. This is when consciousness happens. This is when viability happens. Yeah. When it's so fluid, you know what I mean?
Right. That's the easier part about the pro-life argument is, I mean, they don't have a hard and fast line, and we do. We know that human life begins at conception. That's when a new human being comes into the world that has never existed before and will never exist again. They have their own DNA. They're a whole separate being. Even though they are attached to the mother, that is immediately a person. And it's trying to separate that out from actually being a human being, that there's no way to do that.
Right. And I think I want to circle back to what you said earlier. We kind of talked about the values of people, and I think that is really interesting when you see that the same people that are pushing abortion are typically the same people that celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
The same people that what was the other thing I was going to mention? The same people that are, and we'll get into this in a moment, the same people that are sending you death threats. Yeah. The same people saying that conservatives or pro-life people or Christians should be killed. Right. It's interesting that the idea that once they start talking about certain human lives don't matter, and they start kind of negotiating with the value of human life, you can see this extrapolate into other areas where they're saying, well, this person's life doesn't matter, this person's life doesn't matter.
Right.
Do you think this is kind of part of like a... Do you think that these things like pro-choice, like political violence, are kind of like symptoms of a root cause that our society's values have changed?
I mean, I think it's just falling away from God and falling away from morality in general. That's definitely the biggest thing, because once society stops believing in God, I mean, what's left? You don't have a higher power that you're accountable to. So it really is just subjective. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but then at that point, all of society and our whole entire government, everything would collapse. You have to have,
Right.
I mean, even people who don't believe in Christianity, a lot of people, especially throughout history, have acknowledged the fact that you do have to believe in some sort of God. You do have to have some sort of religion, or else who are you held accountable to? There's nothing in particular. There's no baseline. But I mean, we know as Christians that the true God is Jesus. And so that is where we get, I mean, just morality. We have this moral compass that he's laid on our hearts, even if we're not Christian. Everyone does have that moral compass. Now, they might not be as in tune to it because they justify things, but that's why they have to justify them.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do see people really trying to stitch things together and really trying to justify. And then once you start to expose it, once you start picking apart the arguments, a lot of those people will respond with violence.
Right.
Because it's like they can't... like the ideas don't work. And like you said before, you put it perfectly. Like if you apply these... I'm just going to say excuses to any person outside the womb, you could easily make the case that certain people don't deserve rights.
Oh, yeah. People have done that throughout history. So
yeah, exactly. And I think it's interesting how you said about straying away from God, because once you believe that human life is not intrinsically valuable, basically it means that society gets to assign value to human life, which I believe that's the reason why we see so much of this stuff coming from the same people that are pushing abortion so hard.
Yeah.
These are the same people that will criticize women for not having an abortion or for keeping the baby. These are the same people, like I said, that will celebrate when somebody that they didn't like dies.
Yep.
I know somebody who even celebrated a death of somebody that she knew because the person was mean to her in middle school. Like that's how crazy some of this stuff gets.
Yeah.
Because it's like people don't really have a respect for life or death, because if everything, like you said, if everything is subjective, then what's grounding us? Like, who's going to tell me that somebody that I don't like is a human being?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to tell me that their life is valuable?
Yeah, I think it's gotten really easy for people that don't have God, that don't have a relationship with Christ, to very easily, like, almost start to devalue their own life.
Right.
And what comes with that is, like, every other life is invaluable.
Yeah. Very true.
I think, in my opinion, that the whole hookup culture
Yeah.
has a lot to do with the abortion rates. And it's like, all right, well, you go and you make your choices, you end up pregnant, and they've made it so easy to just get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I think we even need to hold a lot of the men accountable too. I mean, John was telling me a story about, there's some guys that, they get, it's never their wife. It's their girlfriend or some girl they met last night.
Yeah.
And she doesn't get an abortion and they get violent.
Yeah.
In some cases, they'll kill them. I think the number one cause of death for pregnant women is homicide.
Yep.
Usually from an intimate partner. That's insane.
Right.
Like, it's insane that that's the world that we live in. And there's a video, I don't know if you've ever seen this viral video, of this woman was filming her boyfriend, and he was like totally crashing out because he found out she was pregnant and she wasn't going to have an abortion.
Yeah.
And he said, like, if you bring a child, he's like, basically said, like, I am not going to reproduce. I shouldn't reproduce. If you bring a child into this world, I will kill all three of us.
That's...
And he said that he was screaming at her,
Yeah.
saying that, and she was filming it the whole time. It is heartbreaking to look at.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely a sign of brokenness in the world.
My teacher and I were just talking about that actually recently. With the whole sexual revolution and everything that happened back in, like, what was it, the 80s, that really did not help everything, because with the sexual revolution and then with everything now, like, it just started from that. And And that's
Yeah.
always been an issue, but that's really where it got heightened. And then as it's been going up until now, I mean, we see all these people, like, I mean, everything's sexualized. Music, I mean, you see the female, like, music artist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
As well. Very over-sexualized. It's basically a strip club, unfortunately. And I really do enjoy some of the music, but I've had to just not listen to it because I'm not going to support that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the younger people get, I mean, younger people have gotten looped into that because of social media. They're saying this, it's being normalized to them, and it shouldn't be normalized at all. But you'll see these young girls doing like these kinds of dances on their For You page and stuff. And I'm like, you're in high school. What are you doing? But it's bad. And yeah, that's definitely not helping because people are having sex younger and everything like that. And it's almost normal. People think that sex is a right. Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too. When you say like waiting until marriage is a very practical way to not get into a situation where you'll need to have an abortion. Obviously there are exceptions, like there are times where people are raped, and there's nothing that you can do about that.
Right.
Those are tragic situations, but I believe over 99% of abortions, and this isn't like an opinion, like statistically over 99% are not that situation. Over 99%, they're just consensual. They made a mistake, or they found out that the baby was going to have birth defects like Down syndrome, and they were trying to encourage them to abort. And I know of women who literally, the doctor said that their child might have Down syndrome. Not even that it was confirmed, but because of certain factors, they said their child may come out with Down syndrome, and they were like, "Do you want to abort?" And they were like almost pushing that option on them, that they should abort because the child is going to be disabled, so you might as well try for another one that won't be disabled.
Right.
And it's just so ridiculous. And like going back to the values thing, when you have a society, when you no longer have a higher power, you remove God from the equation. Now society gets to decide the value of human life.
Right.
So they'll look at a disabled person who maybe can't contribute as much to the economy, or maybe it'll be a little bit harder to raise them, and then they'll evaluate, do I want to keep this person? Maybe there's somebody else who won't be disabled, so then we get to prioritize that person instead.
Yeah.
I saw a speech a while ago. There was a guy who had Down syndrome, and he testified before the government, literally arguing for the existence of people like him.
Yeah.
Basically explaining to them why he's a human being, and why they shouldn't abort people that are like him. But it's crazy, like, imagine standing before Congress, for example, and literally having to explain to them why they shouldn't abort people like you.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 2025.
Yeah, I was actually very shocked to see, I made a video stitching someone else who was saying, abortion shouldn't just be for, in small cases like the exceptions that people give, but it should be for all reasons. If a woman wants one, get one, or whatever. So I stitched that. I'm like, what about these cases where these children have Down syndrome? And I started listing out these countries with the statistics on just the numbers on if they have a baby with Down syndrome, how likely is it that they're going to be aborted, stuff like that. And I saw in the comment section, I was expecting people to agree with me and be like, wow, that's terrible. I didn't know that 90% of these babies were being aborted in this specific country or whatever. And I looked in the comments, and actually I saw pretty much the opposite, where they're like, no, Down syndrome babies should 100% be aborted. Like, why would you want to bring them into the world? And I was seeing all these comments, and I'm like, there's no way I'm even seeing this. Like, typically, if you're talking to a pro-choicer, they'll at least agree with you that eugenics, like abortion for eugenics purposes, is bad. But I was very shocked to see that. I mean, that they're saying that they should be aborted is just crazy.
Yeah,
that's horrifying.
I think what it's gotten to is a majority of people are in some way killing their child because they want a better future, and they think that the child is going to prohibit that in some way. And when I see that, John had alluded it to me. It's no better than the people like the pagans
Yep.
sacrificing their children
To Moloch.
to some
Moloch,
demon
yeah.
almost, to gain to prosper, for their fields to prosper. It's no better. I think it's actually a modern day depiction. I don't think it's ever gone away.
Well, it's demonic.
It is
Yeah.
demonic, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is horrifying, and like I said, it goes back to the values thing. It's like you look at the Down syndrome thing, like you were describing. But is it any surprise that when you have a society that rejects God, and human life is now negotiable and is decided by society, that
Yeah.
they can pick and choose? Well, this person's desirable, this person's undesirable,
Right.
and that's kind of what happens when we stray away from Him. And speaking of which, I did want to get into some of the feedback you've gotten from some of these people.
Yeah.
Feedback. So unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to pull it up on the screen. I don't
That's
think you'll
okay.
be able to see it, but you've seen the messages before. I could just read some of them.
Yeah.
These are comments, direct messages. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, we'll throw them up on the screen.
Yeah, once we edit it in post, we'll put it up on the screen. Unfortunately, this thing's not
That's okay.
not gonna be able to see it right now. But literally, someone texted you a whole paragraph, all caps. They said, "Your baby's gonna burn. Your baby's gonna burn. I will rape your baby. It will die." And telling you should slit your throat, saying you should kill yourself. Literally a whole paragraph. Like I could almost picture the person's hand shaking as they're writing it, with like
Yeah.
little droplets of sweat on the screen, like as they're
Yeah.
as they're typing the message. Somebody said, "Your body, my choice. Jizz sock. Hope to find you in a dark alley."
Yeah.
Like that's, and then similar comments like that, calling you an ideal grape target.
Yeah.
It's just horrible things. People threatening to assault you. People sending you more paragraphs, more disgusting things, saying you're hoping your children get raped and murdered in front of you. And I think the craziest one is the one that I think you posted a while ago, where this person called you a pedo. He said, "No sane human votes with a smile to torture and brutally violate little 10-year-old girls." What was the context for this at all?
There wasn't any.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people realize I voted for Trump in the last election, and I think people think that makes me a pedophile because they accuse him of doing the same thing. And I mean, I'm not MAGA necessarily. I
Yeah.
support a lot of his policies and stuff like that, but I mean, the reason I voted for him was because he was the better option. I didn't want Kamala Harris as our
100%.
president.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
more with Donald Trump on some issues, but I'm not MAGA necessarily because I mean, I don't agree with him on everything. He's not even pro-life, and
Yeah.
he brags about helping IVF move along really well and everything, and I don't think that that's a good thing at all. I think that's also murder, but yeah, they could have also said that because I'm pro-life, and I know part of what they were referencing in that message was that I allow for little girls' bodies to be violated or something like that. I guess referencing the fact that I don't agree with abortion in that exception.
What's also interesting too is that the abortion industry really enables those types of child trafficking. I don't know if you've seen the sting operations where they've gone into abortion clinics. They'll have like a 15-year-old girl and then like a 22-year-old guy go into an abortion, and they're obviously both actors and they have hidden cameras on them. And literally the guy will just tell them basically, "Yeah, I'm her pimp. She works for me, and we want to get an abortion." And the girl's like 15, and she'll tell them that. And then I saw one where the abortion, and it wasn't the abortionist, it was somebody who was running the clinic. She basically said, "All right, don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know."
Yep.
And I'm like, what? And you realize that is, and they've been caught again, and like this wasn't a one-off incident.
Oh, yeah,
they've been
no.
caught again and again and again, because the reality is, sex trafficking is one of the most profitable industries for them. I mean, they literally have repeat customers coming in constantly, so they don't want to lose that sector of their business.
Right.
And people again will say that this is just a few bad apples, but they have been caught so many times on camera, basically covering it up. And these are just the times they've gotten caught. We don't know how many of these people that they are essentially they're enabling the child trafficking industry
Yeah.
because it lets them get off the hook. I had a friend who was trafficked, and they made her go get an abortion. She walked out of the clinic, refused to do that, and they ended up letting her go because they saw her as damaged goods because she was pregnant. They didn't want a child brought in there. They didn't want to have to deal with a kid. So these people are very, very pro-abortion. These people want to have abortions because the quicker a woman can get an abortion, the quicker that they can go back to exploiting that woman for her body. So it not only, it's crazy that people will talk about this and say that oh, Maddie, you are supporting child molestation, you're enabling this behavior, when in reality it's the abortion industry that is enabling that behavior more than anything else. Because if the abortion industry went away, a lot of this stuff would go away too. It's easy access to abortion that enables trafficking.
I think the people that have a lot of power on when this really have started this whole industry that want this to keep going, your big elites, I think that's exactly why they want it. A lot of them have big ties in sex trafficking.
Yep.
They also see the demonic aspect of it, and they like that.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to put it. That's what they want. It gives them whatever they get from that.
Yeah.
I had a few questions. The biggest argument that I hear about abortion is when you take the rights away from a mother to be able to decide to keep her child or not, when do you start crossing the lines of, if you take this away, then now you're taking human rights away? That's just the biggest argument I hear. Obviously, I don't agree with that at all, but I want your stance on that.
I mean, the human right that is being taken away is the right to life. And that is the right being taken away from the unborn baby. Sex is not a right. A lot of people view it as one. Now, because of just how normalized it's become, they're like, well, this baby has to die so that I can live the life I want. And that's just a crazy mindset to have. I mean, there's no right being taken away. There's no right to abortion. That's not an intrinsic human right. Life is. That's literally the only right that's on the line. And I know people argue bodily autonomy and everything, which isn't even an absolute thing, because if you get arrested or something, then that's a violation of your bodily autonomy. Or if you, I mean, there's so many examples of that. And it also does violate the baby's bodily autonomy. Having liberty in general does limit your bodily autonomy in a sense. But the only right being taken away is the right to life. People see abortion as a right or sex as a right. It's not a human right.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you can do it, but understand that there are consequences to your actions.
Which I don't think.
And it's just a big escape clause.
If you're not in a good relationship, mostly if you're not married, you should not be doing it before marriage. But if you choose to, you should be able to take the responsibility of the choice that you made. That's crazy that you would have your own child killed because of your mistake.
Yeah, and then you see people that are like, there's videos on TikTok of, like, literally women dancing in the abortion clinic, doing TikTok dances in the abortion clinic while they're waiting for their abortion.
Those are just broken people, man.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah, and it's like, even the guy that's messaging him, like, obviously this message thread continues. He's accusing you of being a pedo, saying that you're frothing at the mouth, wanting to see little girls' bodies brutally ripped apart by their rapists. He says nothing can change a pedo's mind other than a bullet.
Yep.
And talking about Charlie Kirk, saying that the same thing should be done to you. And he said, I bet you smile just like I would over your bleeding body.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
So you had mentioned that he said something about ripping apart pedos?
No, he said that she would be happy to see someone get ripped apart.
Right. So does he not realize what they do to the babies?
Right.
That's that's actually, when I first saw the message, I'm reading through it and I'm like, I was reading at like 2 a.m. because that's around when it got sent. And I was just up. I had classes the next morning and I'm just scrolling through these and I'm like, I don't know what this guy is on. And I kept scrolling. I'm like, what do you mean ripped apart? Like, if you're against abortion, I mean, then you are against seeing bodies get ripped apart.
Children getting ripped apart.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what this person's most likely supporting, because I'm assuming they're pro-choice. It's just an odd. That part caught me off guard a little bit. I was like, wait, that's
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, and then the worst part, he starts talking about he says, "I'm violent and I want to see you PDF files beg for mercy. And since you already have your pretty face up, you wouldn't mind if I passed around your videos for people to undress you a bit with AI." And literally just goes on to say how he's going to basically use your face to make AI deepfake porn.
Yeah.
And said he had a bunch of friends he was going to pass it on to, which is kind of crazy to think about, because it's crazy that he's calling you a pedo the entire time and calling you a sexual predator, but this guy acknowledges to having access to AI tools that can make deep fake porn of people non-consensually,
Yeah.
and a group chat full of people that have fetishes that will gladly watch it.
I didn't.
And then he's
the
accusing,
fetish
like,
the thing, to be honest, until I read that, and I was like, I didn't even know that existed. Is that some form of pedophilia? Because I bet it is. It's a really weird. It's just ironic.
Yeah, it just seems interesting to me. He seems to be really getting into this and talking about all the details, and he literally snitches on himself. Like he accidentally snitches on himself, saying that he just makes deep fake porn of people without their consent, and he has a whole group chat full of people with weird fetishes that he's going to send it to.
Yeah.
But you're the pedo.
I mean, here's the reality
You know what
with
I
a
mean?
guy like
It's
that.
like projection. You know what I mean?
That's what he says to you in a group chat or in a DM, and he mentioned a group. A majority of these guys have groups that they mingle with that are just sick and twisted individuals, and they get off in some way by talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
I would bet all the money I ever make in my entire life that dude is in a bunch of groups that are talking about the most heinous things about women, probably about underage girls, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And he's probably in Discord chats.
He probably watches porn too.
100%. He's probably watching porn every single day. Probably illegal porn too, with like underage girls.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a trend here with a lot of the people that get the most aggressive about abortion tend to have like either deep trauma as from their childhood, or just totally whacked off the circuit of like they're pedophiles. Like I wouldn't allow them to be around my future kids for a minute. Is that what is your stance? I mean, I know that you're getting this constantly. You're getting a lot of hate, but what do you think is prayer and praying for these people the only way that we can kind of help them? Or
Yeah. I mean, you have to pray for them. It is a spiritual battle. I mean, we're all human beings, and so because of that, we all have a sin nature, and so when these people get angry and everything, I really do think there's a spirit behind that. Because it's not like I'm going up and, screaming at women at abortion clinics. I don't do that. I am not saying that women who get abortions are monsters. So it's nothing like that. I mean, people can say I'm spreading hate as much as they want, but I'm telling the truth. I'm speaking the truth. I'm not, trying to bash these women who get abortions. Obviously, it's sad, and my heart breaks for them, because I mean, it's not even just mostly, it's the unborn baby that's been killed, but it's also they've just lost their child, and in a sense, they are a victim. Obviously, it's a complicated.
They didn't know what they were getting themselves into.
Yeah, I think a lot of women don't realize till they actually have the abortion, because society has normalized it so much.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting you bring that up. There's an organization, I don't remember the name of it, but they park vans outside of abortion clinics where they have ultrasound equipment. And any woman that is considering an abortion, they say, hey, if you come in the van, we'll give you a free ultrasound.
Yeah.
And they said that, I believe out of every 5 women that go in, 4 of them decide to change their mind about having an abortion.
Yeah.
Which just proves that they literally have no idea what's going on, because the propaganda campaign about the clumps of cells and the parasites and the ball of tissue that they refer to it as, they assume that's what it is. They genuinely believe it. But once they see their baby and they actually see that that's a human life, they see the little hands, they see the feet on it, they realize like this is an actual this is my child.
Right.
Once they fully understand, most of the time they change their mind about it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it really just comes down to education. And I think that's why the pro-life movement is so powerful and why it has to be suppressed so much. Because like when you were saying, when you see the photos and you see the videos, whether they're animated videos, ultrasound videos of abortions, you see the pictures of them reassembling
Yeah.
a dead baby on a tray.
Yeah.
It's like it speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think a lot of women don't realize, like, when I'm sidewalk counseling and things like that, I don't want them to have to realize that later. Like, if I would rather them go in and see an ultrasound and see, oh, this is my baby, and I would rather them see that than take the abortion pill, pick their dead baby up once they've had the abortion, and then realize this was my baby that I just killed. Like, it's just,
Is there major psychological effects?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know there was one woman I was told a story by. I was in the Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust. That's one of the groups that I've worked with. And one of the women in that group, she takes calls from other women who have just had abortions and are trying to reverse it and stuff like that. So this woman ended up calling, and she had just had her abortion, and she was panicking because she realized I have a baby. It's not a clump of cells like they told me it would be. It's not just a blood clot. This is an actual human being. I can see my baby's hands. I can see her little fingers. I can see everything. And I mean, and that's so early. Having the abortion pill, I probably like 8-9 weeks, and she can see that. And she was in complete distress on the phone, like, what do I do? And she's like, well, maybe I should at least bury it. And this is just warning, it's fairly graphic, but she ended up, she was very upset. So she set her phone down or something, and she left the baby to go get a box or something to put it in so she could at least bury it or something like that. And she ended up coming back, and the lady that was on the phone with her heard a bunch of screaming and everything, and her cat had eaten her baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real story, and it's not that extreme all the time, but a lot of it is the women realizing that is my baby, and a lot of them actually do have this desire to go bury them. And this woman, unfortunately, was obviously not able to, but it's just, it's horrifying. And people just don't realize, I mean, they're so small. I mean, they're in their developing stages, and they're supposed to be in their mother's womb because that's a safe place for them. That's where God intended them to be in that stage of their life. But that doesn't make them any less of a human being.
Absolutely.
I think that it's not talked about enough because a lot of people say that you're anti-woman if you're against abortion.
Yeah.
And they say that to support women is to support abortion. We kind of hear that said in some form or another. I think it's a really interesting point that's not talked about enough, that abortion hurts women probably more than anybody because the woman has to live with the trauma of having that happen.
Yeah.
It hurts fathers who will never be able to meet their child, and it hurts mothers who believe that they were just terminating a clump of cells, and then they find out that it wasn't, or they feel I've heard stories of women that feel the baby kick during the abortion, and then their life is like never the same after that.
Yeah.
And it literally scars women for life. And the abortion industry they're just preying on these women.
Going sidewalk counseling has been hard in that sense because, well, my first time going, it was with the Survivors of the Abortion Holocaust group, and we went and we were just singing praise music from across the street, and we had some people going over and talking to the women going in. And my first time going there, I was just I couldn't even talk to anyone. I was just so distraught because I'm like, it becomes so real. I had been doing all this activism online and everything because I'm like, I know what abortion is. I've seen this victim imagery. I know how horrifying it is. But then actually going to the place where it happens and seeing women walk in it makes it so much more real on a whole nother level. And
Yeah.
the worst part is, because women don't always go in there for abortions necessarily, but you can tell which ones have had the abortions when they walk out. You can always tell, which is just horrible. They're usually like, holding on to their stomach a little bit, or you can tell from their face. There's a change in their countenance and everything. A lot of them that go in are angry at the sidewalk counselors, or they're just in a rush trying to get past us. But when they come back out, there is a difference, and that breaks my heart every single time I see that. It doesn't get easier watching that happen, because it's not that we want to hurt these women. It's not about controlling women's bodies. It's just, I don't want them to make a mistake that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives, and they're killing their child. The abortionist is killing their child. It's very, very hard to see that happen, especially in real time.
Yeah.
Have you, when you talk to these women, so you said you didn't get a chance to speak to any of them, or you did?
In that particular chance, in that particular time that we went, I did not talk to anyone, because it was my first time going. I wanted to watch and observe what was happening. But there have been some women that I've talked to, and a lot of them, you end up just being able to, that's why we have pamphlets with us. Normally we hand those out, because that way, at least if they're reading them while they're inside, they can look through them, and hopefully there's still a chance, even when they're inside the abortion clinic, for them to leave before their appointment starts. But we've had some women that have ended up leaving and turning away. What I remember most, though, is being outside of one of the abortion clinics that actually, I'm pretty sure, got shut down this summer from our group and everything. That was the Washington Surgery Clinic. But I was outside of there. We were doing some sidewalk chalking and stuff like that, just drawing like some messages on the sidewalk, like your baby still has a heartbeat and everything like that. And there was this one woman who came up, and she was crying, and she was like, "Where were you when I got my abortion?" She was like, "Where were the people like you? Because I wish that I hadn't had my abortion. I regret it every day." And she was probably in her, I want to say 60s, 50s, 60s. And she's like, "All my other children are grown now." I think that her relationships with them were a bit rough. And she was like, "What if this one baby had been the one to stay around? What if that had been the one to stick with me?" And she was just heartbroken and crying. And she was like, I wish there had been people like you in front of the abortion clinic that I went to.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could imagine that, like, the worst thing that a woman could possibly go through would be, like, a loss of a child.
Yeah.
And now it's just being made so normal.
And they don't find out until after they've done it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting point, because we even heard of these people getting arrested. There was actually one pro-life group where the leader of the group, or one of the prominent protesters, I believe, was arrested at gunpoint during a home raid, had an M16 pointed in his face, and he was just protesting peacefully. But apparently, because of a technicality, they were supposedly within 25 feet of the entrance, and you're not allowed to block. You're not allowed to be within 25 feet of an entrance to a medical facility, which the fact that we call it medicine is crazy.
Yeah.
So on a technicality, they just railroaded this through, and I think he ended up getting sentenced to prison time. And there's videos of these people getting attacked. There's another clip that we can roll of somebody approaching a group of sidewalk counselors with a grenade in his hand, and turned out to be fake, or turned out to be empty. But he was waving it in their faces, saying, I have a gift for you guys. You guys deserve it." And holding up the grenade and like putting it in people's faces.
Yeah.
And he was like an old guy. It was crazy. And he ended up being arrested for that.
Oh, why do you have one of those?
But I think there's kind of this stigma there that these people are not welcome, and these people are just causing problems. Why are you harassing women who are making a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
But I think what you said, that's a story that I've never heard before. And I think that really sheds light on the situation that there are a lot of women, possibly more women than not, that actually appreciate hearing the other side of the story.
Yeah.
And they actually would like people to be, they wish that somebody was there to talk them out of it, or to give them an ultrasound or do something. I just think it's not talked about enough how much abortion actually harms women.
Yeah, there's been studies done where it's saying that a lot of women don't regret it, but I do not believe that. I think those studies are not based in truth. I've seen, even just on TikTok, like a lot of posts where women are like sharing their experiences, or they're like, I really regret my abortion. You see comments and they're filled with women who are just saying like, I regret mine too. I feel this way too. Why, like, there's just a lot of regret. And I think even if you don't regret it immediately, I mean, I don't believe that you can't feel anything. I really don't believe that. But even if they claim that they don't, your body remembers trauma, even if you don't process it necessarily at that time. Like, I mean, there's cases even just of like young children who have gone through sexual abuse or something like that. They don't realize necessarily what it is at the time, but later on, usually there'll be some sort of understanding that they come to, because your body does remember the trauma. And I think it is the same way with abortion, because it is trauma. Whether you take the abortion chemical pill or you get an abortion, like a DNC or something like that, your body will remember that. So that can be, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're doing right now is amazing. I think, you're making a light in the world. How do you think that we can turn this around and make it so that 20% of the next generation doesn't get killed from abortion?
I think the most important thing to do, which anyone can do, it's not even just something that I can do because I've built up a small platform, but we need to be in prayer. That's a really important thing. The churches do need to be talking about that, which we talked a little bit at the beginning, but churches do need to be speaking up about it. It is the church's responsibility. Obviously, you go to church to hear about Jesus, but this stuff does apply. This is a very serious issue that is going on, like, not just in America, but all over the world. And that's something that needs to be talked about and not just normalized. And we need to be praying for these people that we talk to, whether they're women who we sidewalk counsel, or if they're pro-choicers come across online or in person, however, that their hearts can be changed. And a lot of it is just even sharing the gospel with people, because I think once people truly are following after God, there is an understanding of, wanting to walk with him, having that morality and having the Holy Spirit to convict you. And
it's the value of human life.
Yeah, it's the value of human life. And even just even if there's people that aren't Christians, just having these conversations with pro-choicers in a respectful way, because it's not helpful when you're not respectful.
Yeah.
Just having these conversations, like showing them these videos, I think that's a really, really huge thing, is showing the videos and just continually speaking truth. It's not going to get through with everyone, unfortunately. That's something that really only God can do. But you can at least plant a seed so that they can remember that they've been talked to about this, or remember maybe something that you said. You don't know what's going to stick with someone and what isn't. So you just have to talk to people and pray that God does the rest.
Yeah, that's awesome. And about what you said about having respectful disagreements, and this is an important topic because, Thanksgiving's coming up, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people at the dinner table that are going to get into this type of discussion.
Yeah.
How do you go about having, because I understand that you have people in your life too that you have different viewpoints on, but you guys are not at each other's throats. They're not like the people in your comment section or your DMs.
Yeah.
You're able to have respectful conversations and maintain that relationship. How do you navigate going about that with somebody that has a very different viewpoint than yours?
Some people are not... Most people aren't able to have respectful conversations, and that can be from people on the left or people from the right. It goes both ways. It really does, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is important when you're having these conversations with people to be able to view them as a person, as who they are. Like they are more than just this discussion, more than just this political opinion that they have. They are a human being. They are created in the image of God. We are called to love people. So that's a really important thing to remember. They are just as valuable as the unborn babies that we are fighting to protect. And that's something that shifted my perspective very heavily. From just trying to win a debate versus actually have a conversation with this person, try and understand where they're coming from. And even if they don't have their perspective changed, you can at least know that you walked away from it having done your best and showing them love, not having them have this bad connotation with pro-lifers, like, no, this person was screaming at me, cussing me out, whatever. Because I mean, I've done lives and stuff on TikTok where I'm very selective with who I bring up on my panel, not with pro-choicers, because I have less of, not an expectation, but I'm used to dealing with that, I guess. But when it comes to people who are pro-life, who want to come up and maybe debate with me, I'm very selective about who I bring up because, first of all, I don't want them to bring a bad name for me. Like, this is someone that's screaming at another pro-choicer who has a different opinion from them, and they're just cussing this person out. Like, I don't want to bring up people like that. It also brings a bad name to the pro-life movement, and the whole reason that we're doing this, it's not to win a debate, it's to save babies' lives and to save these mothers. And it, on top of all of that, it does, as a Christian, for me, I don't want to bring a bad name to Jesus, because he does have, like, he's very, you can see in the Bible, like, he's very firm and stuff, and he does have these conversations with people. He does speak truth. He's not shying away from it. There's not a compromise there. He just simply speaks the truth, but he's also loving these people at the same time. So that's what I want to strive to do. And it's very difficult, which I think I've told, it wasn't Jackson, I told you before when we had previously called, but it's very difficult to hate the people that you are praying for. You naturally begin to have a love for them and be able to see them as God does. That's something that I've been praying for a long time, even before I started doing the pro-life movement and before I got involved with that. I was praying for God's love for people, and I think this was one of his ways of testing me with that. Like, he has an interesting way of going about things. Like, okay, you want to love people? I'm going to give you difficult people who hate you, who are going to say all these horrible things about you, and I want you to love them. And I have not been able to do that without God's help, without the Holy Spirit. There's no way to do that without him. Because even as someone who's saved, I'm still, in my flesh and everything. And it can be really, really difficult. There's times where I just want to snap back because these people are very hard to get to. Sometimes it's hard to get ideas through to them. But it's really changed my perspective, just praying for them.
I think what you said was, you really hit the nail on the head before. This is perfect. You said you have to remember that these people are just as valuable as the unborn babies that we're trying to protect. That really, really hits the nail on the head. Especially when you bring up praying for them. Like you said, it's very difficult to hate someone that you're praying for. We do have to understand these people are made in the image of God, and usually the people that are doing these types of things to you are very broken. Because obviously somebody who is living a happy, healthy lifestyle and they're at peace and they're secure in themselves doesn't go around sending messages to people on the internet like the ones we just looked at. So obviously those people probably need Christ more than any of us. But I think so I do have one last question for you, Maddie. This was great. I want to ask you one last thing. How do you continue to be bold for your faith when you have a lot of resistance coming your way? What do you do to stay grounded and not cave to that pressure?
It is, again, kind of the same thing where, I mean, it's prayer. It's all God. I would not be doing this. I mean, like I said previously I did used to be a people pleaser. I was not very confrontational because, I mean, that's just not the way I was. I would agree with whatever someone told me for the most part. There are certain things I don't compromise on, but I would agree with people on things because I wanted people to like me. That was my biggest thing. But seeing, again, the victim imagery and everything, and God laying this passion on my heart for the specific purpose has really made me a lot more bold in what I believe, because it doesn't really matter what these people think of me, because, I mean, it's that verse, I forgot the specific reference, but what can man do to you? Don't be afraid of man, be afraid of God. I don't want to die and not have lived out the purpose that God set for me. And instead, I just filled my life with all these meaningless things and just pleasing man over God. At the end of your life, what's it going to matter who liked you and who didn't? It's not going to.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Praying, the Holy Spirit has made me a lot more bold. That's for sure. And again, praying for these people so that you don't hate them is a really huge thing. It's made a huge difference. And I think it's just also encouraging. I typically don't answer DMs because I really don't have the time, first of all, because I'm in college. But I try not to look at my DMs too much. But I actually saw one this morning, this really just encouraging message that I got from this girl. And that is also very encouraging to me, is seeing that even through all this hate and all these horrible things that people have said about me, I am getting through to people. And there have been babies saved from this, and I can see God working in people's lives, even if it's at least having a conversation with a pro-choicer, and not necessarily them agreeing with me, but at least being like, wow, I wasn't expecting you to be respectful. I'm surprised that you were actually nice when I was hateful. I've had people respond that way, and they're like, thank you for at least having this conversation with me in a way where you're not, disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Lila
Everything.
Rose. Lila Rose is like incredible at that.
Oh,
I don't
gosh,
understand how she keeps her composure so well.
She's one of my biggest role models for that, honestly. I've watched so many of her videos. She does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that somebody could be watching this episode and maybe they might be pregnant right now and they're on the fence.
Yeah.
They're weighing options out. What would you say to that woman?
Well, first of all, I'd say reach out to me, because I would do anything for them to be able to have their baby, whether that's like needing financial help or just someone to talk to or something like that. I mean, just anything. There's so many resources out there, whether they would want to reach out to me or someone else, I could get them in contact with people. I mean, anything so that you don't kill your baby, because honestly, people make it sound like it's a burden to have children, but it's God's gift. It is God's gift. It is a life that He has given you to take care of. The situation might be really difficult that you may be in, but it's nothing that cannot be fixed. It's nothing that you cannot deal with, and it's something that people will come alongside of you. But killing your baby is a permanent thing. And whatever decision that someone makes, they are going to have to live with that for the rest of their lives. But I don't think that a woman will ever regret having her baby.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I think, and there's a lot of organizations that will help. We'll probably plug a couple of them in the description.
Yeah.
There's a lot of charity. I know my mom actually used to volunteer at a crisis pregnancy center.
Yeah.
And they used to help women through the childbirth process. I think they gave them baby formula, diapers. They helped them raise the child.
Yeah.
There are a lot of I think one of the most common lies we hear from pro-choicers is that pro-lifers are only pro-birth and they don't care about babies. There are so many pro-life organizations. A lot of them have partnered with people like Lila Rose and Live Action that help women along through that process. I think it's important for people to understand that they're not alone.
100%. Yeah.
And yeah, I think this is really incredible. I think the work you're doing is impacting a lot of people, because not only are there women that are messaging you, there's also the intangible effect that you can't see yet, that there are probably people that in 20 years they're going to be our age, and they're going to be all grown up, and there's a chance that if you didn't start and if you weren't doing what you're doing now, they may not be here. You know
I'm
what I
praying
mean?
that God, I mean, I didn't really want to start doing social media for this specific reason, to be honest. I never thought that that's something I would do. My mom always kind of thought I would do something social media related, but I wasn't thinking I would do something this controversial because it had always been really hard for me to deal with any sort of hate ever. But it's something that God's put on my heart. I think about, I mean, one of my favorite books in the Bible is Esther, where it's Esther 4:14. It's actually in my bio, where Mordecai's talking to her and he's like, you were born for such a time as this. God has placed you here for this specific time, for this specific purpose. And I truly believe that God has done the same thing for everyone. It's not just me, it's you guys as well. And anyone who might be watching, God has you where you're at, and he can use you wherever you're at. Even if you don't feel like you're in a good position, God can still use you. And I mean, that's the most important thing to remember. And I really want people to get something out of this, because I'm not doing social media to get clout or anything like that. If I was, I would pick
Be a pretty bad way to do it.
If you're doing makeup or something like that, I would not be talking about the pro-life movement. It hasn't been easy, for sure. There's definitely been difficult periods where I'm like, wow, this is just a lot to deal with right now. Because obviously I know there's going to be, I signed up for it. I signed up for social media. There's going to be hate, but there are times when it's difficult. But I have to keep in mind the reason why I'm doing it and everything. And it's not for views and stuff like that. It is genuinely, I mean, God has a purpose for my life and everything. And I want to fulfill his purpose, because that is the best thing you can do. There's nothing else in the world that could ever satisfy anyone other than doing the will of God.
That's beautiful.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up on that.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
thank you so
beautiful.
much, Maddie, for coming
Thank
on
you.
the show. This was awesome.
Thank you so much. Seriously, I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
You're a light in the world right now, and I couldn't imagine all the women that you're encouraging every single day to stand up.
Thank you.
Might as well. I mean, you're encouraging us. I mean, really.
I'm so glad I got to come
Yeah.
on here. It was really good meeting you guys and everything.
Oh, absolutely. No, thank you so much.
100%.